And we are back here, ladies and gentlemen. Gonna be switching things up a little bit as we're still a little bit uncertain as to the result of Epic versus Riser. We felt that would take a little while, but on the other hand, we have a fresh series here on our hands, so we're in Bracket B that wasn't quite getting coverage, so we decided to switch over. We are now in Bracket B, the lower bracket of Bracket B. Yeah, there we go. And we're going to be having an elimination match that is a ZVP on our hands. So, yeah, let's just get right to it. Over here in the top left-hand corner of the map, starting all the way in the top left-hand corner of Oceanborn, we, of course, have our red Zerg player coming out from the land of Korea. He's going to be representing Vitality Esports. We have Solar.
Team Vitality.
Yeah.
And
Too much
Sporting
R8.
in the Sporting in the right hand corner, we have the blue Protoss player representing Team Liquid. It is SKillous. And you thought we wouldn't get a Zerg player.
Oh, I hoped we wouldn't.
But yes, as you mentioned, we've been focusing on Bracket A for quite some time. But as you mentioned before, we're a little bit in the dark as to what's going on there when it comes to any updates on Epic versus Riser. It looks like there might be some delays going on, or again, we're just waiting for any kind of results to be coming in there. Because of that, there was another series that was opening up, and we are diving right on into Solar versus SKillous. As you mentioned, loser of this series is eliminated from the tournament.
Indeed, the winner of this series, on the other hand, will be moving forward to a what I like to call a prequel match. It's not quite the qualifier, but the match before the qualifying match.
There you go. There you go. Whew, so we'll see how this does turn out here. I mean, Solar was one of the favorites to make a deep run in this tournament, not just in this bracket, but in the knockout bracket and maybe even into the playoffs. He's one of the best Zerg players in the world, but he did go down to Rogue. In the ZvZ, he did go down to Rogue, and now he is up against SKillous. SKillous, who's been on fire as of late as well.
Yeah, SKillous, who almost made it to the finals of Stars War 11 very recently, did have a very strong showing against Hero in those semis. So SKillous is absolutely looking in form. Solar, as you mentioned, was one of the favorites to take this. I think Solar is probably one of the top 3, if not even top 2 Zerg players in the world right now. But did lose that series against Rogue in, I mean, I don't even know how long it was, but it went all the way to the ace match, and it was shorter than our series, which lasted about less than 20 minutes. So,
oh yeah. And when it comes to SKillous' recent accolades, I mean, you were talking about Stars War 11. I mean, SKillous is one of the reasons why the winner Zerg players in Stars War 11, he did eliminate Raynor from the qualifiers of that tournament. Did help knock him out.
Yeah, so SKillous is absolutely in form, specifically in this matchup as well, to go up against a player of the caliber of Raynor and completely prevent him from making it to that offline playoffs.
Oh yeah, that did occur. Meanwhile, we do see Solar being active with these Lings. The goal here is to try and delay the third base. The probe is on the way. The Adepts are here to help ferry that probe. And nice movement here. The probe does get wedged behind the middle line Lings, though they collapse here on these Adepts. Oh.
And they will be able to take them out. Oracle forced to come back home and spend a little bit of its energy cleaning up the rest of the Lings. Probe will survive, however, and will be able to throw down that Nexus, throw down Pylon, just set up a third base here for SKillous.
Oh yeah, third base is set up. SKillous going to be moving out with his double Oracle headed towards that natural base. Droning is on the way here for Solar, and he's going to try and maintain himself. He's going to try and keep up with the Oracles, and so far he is. So far the Oracles are fended off.
Like so. Super important for Solar right now is just keep his queens bunched together before his Spore Crawlers can really get up and running.
Yeah, as the Spores are now finishing up. There's a Spore at the third. There's a Spore on the way at the natural. Spore in the main base as well. So Solo not cutting any corners here in the defense. And working towards +1 melee. Interesting. So working towards what looks to be a Ling, Bane, potentially Roach Ravager heavy composition. And there's that Roach Warren on the way.
Like so, a pretty standard composition nowadays when it comes to ZVP, particularly against Blink Stalkers.
Yeah, Slings, they get across the map. Once again, there's no shield battery, by the way, only some adepts. They're going to be focused down. One adept, full second adept as well. Now we can go for the probes.
Oh. Yeah, a little bit of an awkward position there with the probes having to be a little bit body blocked by these pylons. Lings are able to catch a couple of probes that are transferring from other bases as well. SKillous picking off a couple of drones here and there. Good target firing with these adepts, but when it's all said and done, SKillous will lose a few more probes.
Yeah, that was a bit of a give and take here. SKillous bleeds out 5 probes, Solo bleeds out 4 drones, so not a bad trade, or not a bad back and forth, I should say. We did amass a lot of links, but the links can't really do much, not with these oracles out of the map, as they can make short work of these links. They're going for the surround on those stalkers, and they will force the activation of the pulsar beam.
Oh. And it's something if Solo is able to trade links with stalkers, not too bad. Again, Ling's very cheap, and even though they are what you're going to be utilizing the most eventually in this matchup, you can't afford to lose them early as long as you take out a couple of units while you're at it.
Yeah, exactly. Trading minerals for gas, always a better trade for Solar. Still being active with these links. At the same time, now we're moving out with the Oracles. We have double Oracle towards the natural. We don't quite commit. We also have the Oracle making its way towards the third base, but Spores are in position. SKillous doesn't find any extra damage, but he's looking for some scouting information. He's looking for any further tech. Confirms there is no extra gas. There are no Hydras. Or Spire.
Yet. Well, I say yet, but, you know. What... I say yet, but Solo's not exactly planning to get into that phase just yet. Lair did finish up for him a while ago. Yeah, Lair did finish up, but that's just for roach upgrades for the time being. He does want to hit a very strong timing with his roaches, with his +1 lings.
Yeah, very important that you point that out, because Solar is getting a base, but he's cutting workers at 66. That is 3 base saturation. Solar, his goal is to max out on Lingbane Roach Ravager off of 3 bases. This 4th base is just really for Larva more than anything, and he's going to be moving out with a massive army. Now, SKillous may have a smaller army back at home, but he will have the defender's advantage. So we'll see if it's going to be enough, because here come those Dropper Lords. Here comes the push.
Yeah, he coming. He is coming very, very soon. Creep Highway, not quite as set up as Solo would like, but it's still about halfway there. He's still going to be able to hit SKillous very, very soon.
Yeah, the Queens are loading up as well. Again, a very committed push. It's basically a 3-base all-in out of Solar. Back at him, SKillous, he's going to have a Storm finishing up just in time, but we need more side defense. We need cannons, shield batteries. We need a defensive setup here at the 3rd base. Otherwise, it's not going to be enough.
No, it will not. I don't believe SKillous has any sentries either, which is a little bit worrisome.
Yeah,
Force fields are the main way to really deflect all of these lings. Speaking of which, they will get a full surround. Storms do land, and it will start thinning out the ling count, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough. Archon caught in between this concave of roaches will be going down. Another Archon going to be caught before it even finishes morphing in.
Yeah, exactly. Again, only limited amount of storms, but the Immortal is coming out. Stalkers have a go. Concave Overcharge is already on cooldown, and you can see Solar breaking through this defensive line, getting onto that 3rd base. We have reinforcements on the way. Is it going to be enough? More shield batteries finishing up, but cannons are falling.
Oh, cannons are falling. A lot of probes have went down, and that's good damage, but again, Solar is basically all in at this point. He wants even more damage. Was able to sneak in a couple of links to the main base. That's going to completely disrupt the production here of SKillous.
Yeah, SKillous, he's holding, he's chasing down the main army, but as you mentioned, we lost 23 workers in the main and at the 3rd base. Aye. And we're becoming more and more all-in. We're moving out across map. We catch a good amount of roaches and ravagers, but SKillous doesn't have the economy to sustain this.
That he does not. He doesn't have the economy. His production is a little bit staggered here, with a couple of gateways getting depowered, with couple other production getting depowered. Solo going for another push here towards the 4th base this time.
Yeah, and SKillous still busy trying to deal with these lings. Again, it was an impressive defense out of SKillous. He did hold quite well, but the harassment, right? The drop into the main base was brutal, and with that, SKillous is up against the wall. Lings, they come in for another surround. Bile's not quite connecting. Archon does get shut down, though, as SKillous is forcing Solo back once again, but that's a kill on the Nexus.
Indeed it is. SKillous is trading very efficiently so far, but we're kind of at the point where Solar... Again, Solar doesn't... It's not super important for Solar to trade efficiently right now. What's important for Solar is to make SKillous bleed, is to take out these expensive units like the Archons, like the Immortals, and then just keep this harassment and keep this aggression going.
Yeah, and he's not stopping. Again, Solar, he hasn't droned. Solar, he hasn't droned at all. He's saturated on his 4th base, but again, it's simply because he's running out of minerals elsewhere. Meanwhile, he does collapse on these High Templar. Ooh, they're barely saved just in time. That was a very clutch moment there for SKillous.
Indeed, it was. They're continuing to bank up energy. A couple of well-placed storms can absolutely turn the tides in SKillous' favor. Now, he's down a base. He's down, actually, 2 bases pretty soon, but like you mentioned, Solar's not looking to drone. Now he's starting to drone up a little bit.
Yeah, he's saturating and taking another hat trick here on the left-hand side. You can see Solar, he's transitioning, working on Baneling speed. Not +2 yet, still on 1-1 upgrades. This is amassing another Ling Bane Roach Ravager-based army. SKillous moving forward. He has a lot of Stalkers. They can be quite efficient.
Yeah, they really can. Very nice blinks coming out from SKillous. He's blinking back with his front line of Stalkers as they start getting injured, not, blinking them back in an entire monolith or a block.
Yeah, so far, nice control here from SKillous. He has a lot of storms backed up. Massive storm here on both of these armies. Very nice done, or very nice push so far from SKillous, but he's all in. Like, again, there's no 4th base, and Solar makes sure that that's the case.
Indeed, he did. Even stuck in a couple more Lings earlier on just to keep up and confirm that SKillous is on 3 bases, is continuing to go all in. Solar just needs to survive. He just needs to get more roaches out and just continue to chip away at this army without ceding too much ground.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be all about the storms. If we can get some juicy connections, then SKillous can break through and get on top of the bases and end the game. As you mentioned yourself, he is still very all in, and these are some pretty good storms.
Yeah, a lot of these Ravagers getting battered and bruised down to the orange and red health.
Yeah, we're down to orange and red health. The High Templar just went down. 0 storms remaining here for SKillous. Probes are going down. Looks like the 3rd base has been broken as Solar cripples what little economy we had left. And SKillous, he's running out of time, and Solar is still maxing out.
Yeah, SKillous is starting to run out of steam with this army. Solar was still mining behind all of this. He went up to 70 workers, which is enough to keep this going. And yeah, was just able to continue chipping away at this rather expensive army, compared to what Solar has anyway. Rather expensive Protoss army of SKillous.
Yeah, and we got the Immortal, we got the High Templar, we got the Archons. What do we have left? Blinkstalker. That's all that remains here for SKillous, and you can see his supply eclipsed here by Solar as he's now maintaining himself on 70 workers, on 5 hatcheries. Again, it was an impressive defense earlier from SKillous, but these Ling and Bane run-bys have been brutal, and they've been winning Solar the game.
Yeah. Feels like Solar went all in initially, or was planning to go all in, wasn't quite able to break Skillous, but did enough damage to cripple him, right? So now that dynamic is flipped a little bit. Skillous is a player who is all in, and Solar just kept sending out wave after wave after wave of Ling to try to force the issue and try to force Skillous to be all in.
Yeah, and now we're moving out of crossfire. We're hitting the 3rd base once again, and we're running out of shield batteries, running out of static defense. We do have some storms in the back line, and they will force Solar back for a moment, but there's only so much time we can really buy here because the wave of Zerg doesn't end.
It is overwhelming at this point. These are the last units that Skillous has available, and it's not going to be enough. GG is called Solar, limiting game number 1.
GG, well played. Solar does take a lead here. And that was a pretty close one. I mean, towards the end, Solar, of course, he did snowball out of control. But the initial all-in that Solar went for, Skillous did defend quite nicely. You know, he was able to hold his own against the main army, but specifically only against the main army. That drop into the main base was brutal.
It really, really was. Very smart thinking cut here from Solar. I guess he figured correctly that the Lings wouldn't be that useful on the front lines. There was more than enough storms there for Skillous to really evaporate the Lings before they really make contact with the army. So what does he do instead? Sneak them into the main. Just really hinder the economy of Skillous while keeping him distracted in that main engagement. And by the time that was done, SKillous was the player under pressure at that point. He had to go across the map, he had to reciprocate, Soul just had to defend, and he defended.
Did defend in the end, and with that, we do see that Solar is now that one step closer to advancing on into the next round. Where we do have an opponent ready and waiting for him.
Indeed, we do. We have an opponent waiting for him. Shutdown did take out Mixu, 2-0. And our mistake, actually. That was actually game number 2 that wrapped up.
Yeah, that was...
between Solar and SKillous.
Yeah, that was game number 2, and apparently we are tied up 1-1. So, yeah, I should let some of our lovely people know that.
Yeah, we're much like you, dear viewers. We're kind of basing our assumptions on what has been updated on the bracket available in Wikipedia.
Yeah, exactly. So we were a little bit in the dark as to what was going on. But yeah, we're going into the ace match. Let's go.
Indeed, we are going into the ace match. This is going to go into the next match against Shutdown, who I think we kind of glossed over, but he did take out Mixu 2-0. And after that, we have yet another opponent waiting for the winner of that. It's going to be Rogue, waiting in the lower bracket finals, who did get taken out by Laser 2-0. So a Laser going to be the first player to advance to the knockout bracket, at least from the open stage.
Yeah, we are just getting ready for that eventual knockout bracket, or for the eventual qualifying match as well on the horizon, as you mentioned. It looks like we're kind of nearing the end of this portion of the broadcast where bracket B is all lined up for us. You know, we have Shutdown waiting in the next round, Rogue waiting after that as well. I mean, that was a big win for a Laser 2-0ing Rogue. That is wild.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge here. Laser building a lot of momentum for himself here. Going into the knockout stage that's going to be happening tomorrow. I think that's also something else that's worth pointing out, is if you're able to win your matches early, as Laser has, if you're able to secure a spot in the knockout stage this early on, you have a lot more time to not only rest and recuperate, but also a little bit more time to kind of tighten up whatever you feel that you need to. You have a little bit more preparation time compared to some of your potential opponents tomorrow.
Oh yeah. We do have that more. There's that time of preparation. Not too much time, but you know,
well, it's enough time to look back at your own games in the knockout bracket and try to figure out what you can tighten up. You know, what you can try to practice a little bit more, what you can try to work on in the few hours that you have before bedtime.
Oh yeah, exactly. Then that time can be really valuable in these kind of weekend tournaments to kind of ruminate over your matches and think up some builds as well. Very, very important to have that time to yourself as a player.
Yeah. Or alternatively, some of the players might benefit a little bit more by having a little bit of additional time to rest. Some players just need maybe ruminating might not necessarily be super effective, but just having that extra rest will allow you to go into the knockout stage fresher than potentially some of your other opponents.
Oh yeah, as we are just getting ready here, and again, because we haven't heard from Epic and Riser, we are just going to be focusing on SKillous Solar, into Shutdown, into Rogue. I say potentially because we mentioned before that the mainstream, they will pick a lower qualifying match to cover as well. And if the Group A series are still held up, then they might just pick the Rogue qualifying match, which would make sense for them to go for.
Yeah. And it does mean that we'll potentially have the opportunity to jump back up to Group Bracket A and potentially conclude that.
Oh yeah, well, don't worry, we'll cast as much as we can. We'll
yeah. Here we go, just making sure all of our players are ready. We're going to be jumping in. final game here in this ZVP. Again, SKillous, Solar, on the cusp of elimination.
Yeah.
One more map to determine which player will advance and which player will be eliminated.
I also just remembered, like, a reason why Riser v Epic might be held up is they might be doing, like, maybe an interview or some kind of, since we do have a bit of a pause, but they might be doing an interview, they might be doing some kind of, like, player spotlight as well. That is something that sometimes, holds up some brackets, maybe even, like, some player shots or, like, a photo shoot. Sometimes that does occur.
Yeah. Every now and then, but we shall see. We'll just kind of roll with what we have, but regardless, we're going to be concluding this match here on Ghost River. We're over here in the top right-hand corner map, starting all the way in the top right. We have our red Protoss player coming down from...
Game paused.
It looks like we might be... Oh,
looks like we might have some technical issues here. Oh, I see. He unpaused by accident.
there we go.
Yeah. So
Oof.
it looks like we are going to be remaking. It looks like the unpause was not intentional, and we did miss a bit of a macro cycle there.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, you know. Usually we do see a bit of a countdown coming out from our players before that unpause, so a little bit unintentional here coming out from Solar. Guess that's a good reminder to our viewers. Clean your tables. Question mark. I'm not sure what the lesson there was.
Clean your tables, clean your keyboards. Be sanitary with your gamer setup here.
What?
Oh.
Solo's just informing us in chat that his hand warmer, and I quote, boomed. Very messy.
Yeah,
His
it is.
Hand... Wait,
it's
is
very...
that an electric thing?
No, it's not electric. No.
Okay.
Hand warmers, they're the way they work is like as you squeeze them, it creates like a chemical reaction inside, which causes it to warm up.
Right. It's like a glow stick.
Kinda, yeah, sure, kinda. It's very common for players in general to have those heat packs. The heat packs to have the heat packs,
right,
to keep their hands warm. And it sounds like maybe Solar he squeezed it too hard.
I can see that. I can visualize that. Yeah, very messy, as he says. Anyway, we're going to be concluding this best of 3 No, not quite a prequel match yet. Anyway, we're going to be concluding this best of 3 series here on Ghost River, where we're here in the top right-hand corner map, starting all the way. In the top right, we of course have our red Protoss player going to be representing Team Liquid. We have SKillous.
And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have the blue Zerg player representing Team Vitality. It is Solar.
Getting a little bit too hot in his hands, but you know, maybe that's the amount of heat you need. I don't know. I've never felt, coming from a place that doesn't get cold, I've never felt the need to warm my hands.
I thought you were gonna say something like, I've never felt, the warmth embrace of anything. So I only know the cold.
No, I feel too. It's the opposite. It's too warm.
Ah, I see. The luxury or the curse of living in Singapore.
Well, it's a curse when your fashion sense calls for long pants and sleeves. And you never get to wear it. And you never get to wear that. At least outside.
I understand. But we are settling into our ace match. As a reminder, the last game did go the way of Solar, and we missed out on game 1. Apparently, we did miss out on game number 1, so we're jumping in mid-series, and it all ends here. It all ends on Ghost River. One player advances on into the next round. The other is eliminated from the tournament.
Indeed, they are. We have confirmation that SKillous won game number 1. That at least we can deduce from what we've been able to witness. But yeah, and we're not sure what map that took place on and how exactly that went.
And Also, on top of that, we also know as well that Solar, now his hands are cold. His heat pack has exploded, and that means that that means that now his hands are gonna get a little bit frosty.
He needs to find other ways to keep him warm. Somebody, if you're at the venue, hold Solar's hands.
I'm thinking, I sit on his hands, Pappy, sit on his hands. As that's going to be a kill, not a cancel on the pylon. We do delay the third base, but that was not quite worth it. A pylon, that is 100 minerals down the drain for SKillous.
Yeah, quite a hefty investment here to not quite pay off for SKillous. Step going to get into position, going to be able to force a little bit of movement here from Solar, kind of get him a little uncomfortable, but it's not really something too threatening.
Yeah, in the end, this was still a better trade for Solar. Getting the kill on that pylon was huge. But now we have 2 adepts. We can one-shot drones. We can threaten the mineral lines here of Solar. Didn't even get to mention it, but we're loading into Ghost River for the first time in tonight's broadcast. And Ghost River has a very short rush distance by ground. Aggression is favored here. And we're not going for a Twilight Council opener. Despite that, it's still going to be the Oracle opener from SKillous.
Yeah, interesting choice. I mean, I can't really blame him too much. It's possible that, especially after game number 2, SKillous is expecting Solar to take the role of the aggressor, so these Oracles are going to help a lot in the defense, and on the off chance that Solar isn't going to be attacking too early on, they can still be useful across the map to get some harassment damage done as well.
To get some damage done. Third base now on the way here for SKillous. The Oracles have yet to really move out. They've been stuck at home alongside the Adepts, so Solar is free to drone. It's free to drone and set up back at home. We have a Spore at the natural. We have no Spore set up in the main base or the third, so potentially some exposed areas here as the Oracles are looking for damage.
Yeah, looking for damage, but not quite finding it yet. Queen's once again in position to try to chase this away. Ling's going across the map to try to lay the third base of SKillous, but will instead meet 4 Adepts and get deflected.
Yeah, Lings are deflected, but so are the Oracles as they dip into the third base. No damage dealt yet. We have +1 attack on the way. We have Blink as well, so SKillous transitioning into his Blink follow-up. And Adepts, they still continue to threaten these shades. Can we find some damage here as the Adepts? Do we commit? Up!
They will get right into the main base. These are vanilla Adepts, but with good enough target firing, they can still pose a very, very credible threat to the mineral line. Not so much when it gets surrounded by Lynx, though, as demonstrated.
Yeah, the surround was real. Oracles, they dip into the main. We do get 2 drone kills, but only 2. The Adepts go down, and now that means we can go for a big counterattack. Lynx, they hit the third base, but the recall finishes up just in time, and the Oracles will defend.
Lynx will get into position and make an immediate U-turn once they spot the Oracles recalled.
Okay, get the hell out of there. They do pull back. Meanwhile, we do have our Templar Archives follow-up. That's an interesting choice, a tech choice here from SKillous. Not working towards Colossus, but working towards, I imagine, Archons and even Storm.
Yeah, once again, just another really potent counter to the Ling-based army composition that Sol is going for. SKillous has been able to get into the main, has been able to scout a couple of buildings. He scouted the lair being warped in, and I believe was able to get eyes on the Roach Warren as well. So, as far as SKillous is concerned, we are going to see a little bit of a repeat of game number 2.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice here from SKillous as the Oracles are still being active. They don't quite get too much done, but we're going for double robot production. This could be Immortals and Archons.
Yeah, very potent, almost a pseudo Soul Train, if you will. We'll have to keep our eyes peeled on the amount of sentries that do get warped in here. SKillous not typically one to make too many of them, but they are essential to defend against Lings.
And there it is going to be Immortal production. So again, this is a very unique build that has been rising in popularity these past couple of months. Ignoring Colossus, right? For a very long time, Blink Stalker into Colossus was the meta, was the standard of ZVP. But yeah, this has been trendy as of late. Again, massive Immortal here, Storm, Archon production as well. We're going to be building up a death bull of an army, and yeah, this can be quite difficult to deal with.
It can be, But on the flip side of that, Solar's already getting into hive tech, so...
Yeah, Solar back at home has been happily droning. He's already up to 81 workers, by the way. I mean, he barely lost anything against the Oracle harass, so his economy has been left almost untouched, and I mean, now Solar, he's soon to snowball out of control. Now he's done droning, he can focus on his army.
Yeah, he's making full use of that economy. He's getting to his endgame tech. We should be seeing an Ultra Cavern, I imagine. Just with how dedicated we've been to melee upgrades.
Yeah, we have options, right? I also lean towards Ultras as our tech of choice. I mean, if we went for Lurkers, we'd already see a Hydrogen. So, speaking of
Which...
there it is. A Hydrogen is thrown down. Not the best timed Hydrogen, because now we can't start the Lurker upgrades yet, but the Hive is at least done, and we can see Solar moving out with his army. Shouldn't get too much done, but he does get eyes on the composition he's up against.
Yeah, spots those Immortals, spots those High Templar. He knows exactly, like I said, what he's up against, and I guess maybe spotting those Immortals kind of prompts Solar to avoid Ultralisk for the time being.
That it does, as we do see Solar just opening up some attack paths here towards the north, still on a hefty worker count. There's that Lurker Den now on the way. Again, it still takes a while to get into those Lurker upgrades to really hit our final form, and that means that SKillous has time to build up his Immortal count and to build up those High Templar as well. Now, we might not have Sky Toss, but Mass Immortal and Archon can actually do quite well against Lurker tech. They can tank some shots.
They absolutely can. They can tank a couple of shots, so long as you spread them out a little bit so that not every single Lurker spine is going to be attacking your core army units.
Yeah, as the bailing run by comes in, we do split the boys, but will we connect? And 13 probes go down. Very nice run by here by Solar. Does cripple the economy and does give him some breathing room here to max out and to tech up.
That was beautiful from Solar, by the way. Just to anticipate the direction SKillous was gonna evacuate those probes too, and just split off a handful of his banelings to try to catch them on the retreat. I mean, SKillous had no choice at the very end there. He saw the banelings to his right, so he moved left. He saw the banelings to his left, so he moved right. But to his right, there were still more banelings, so he had to just scramble to figure something out, but there was no room to split.
Yeah, there was just no good answer there for SKillous. Nice storms on the Lings. Lings are shaved off, and you can see our tech transition here. SKillous is not going to be doubling down on just purely Immortal Archon. We're taking up into Sky Toss. As Sky Toss is on the way, Solar throws down his Spire. Now, it's going to take a while to get into Corruptor production, but it does mean that Solar will have Hydro Lurker Viper first, and he's soon to move out.
Like so. Lurker range about to finish up. Muscular augments about to finish for the Hydras as well, making them move a little bit speedier across the map. Again, under these potential carriers.
Yeah, as we make our way towards the right-hand side, now SKillous has spotted the main army. He has High Templar in position with those storms. At the same time, Solar working towards that natural, and can even shut down the Cyber Core.
He's gonna try. That's absolutely a crucial building right now for SKillous. Lurkers not quite able to get much done here. They will get pushed back by the Protoss army. Oh, that's a very bunched up army of high-tech units. Immortal goes down. I think 2 Immortals go down actually, which was, yeah, kind of brutal at this stage.
Yeah, not a bad trade there for Solar. As you mentioned, he didn't break into the natural, he didn't deny the Cyber Core, but Solar was just trading out Roaches, right? He was just throwing away Roaches, refining his army, getting into a more heavy Hydra Lurker-based composition, and we even have a couple of Corruptors sprinkling in as he did confirm the carriers.
Indeed, he did. Solar is maxed out, which is going to complicate things a little bit when it comes to his anti-air. He's getting 3 Corruptors, and those are the only 3 Corruptors he's going to have to work with for a while. Good surround on this ground army. Solar able to take on an Archon and a couple of Immortals as well. He does get baited into a bit of a choke point though, and will take a lot of damage in these storms.
Yeah, very
Important
nice
to note though, these Lurkers have been untouched.
They have been untouched. I mean, great use of the terrain, as you were mentioning, by SKillous to make use of those storms. He's holding the line. More carriers are amassing. Look at the units tab. We have 4, soon to be 5 carriers for SKillous. Not a bad amount, but the downside of this army of SKillous is how slow it is, how immobile it is. The Mothership will help with that, but it's not out yet, and we'll see if Solar can pull them apart. Once again, trying to throw away these Roaches. Once again, pushing on the right-hand side, where the army is not, where the carriers are not.
And not a big buffer for these Immortals or even these High Templar. So Solo can slowly but surely just keep pushing this back. No detection. Okay, there's an Observer.
There is an
But
Observer.
even still, there's so much damage.
Yeah, the ground army just bullied away. Corruptors diving on top of the carriers as well. One carrier does go down, and we force out the storms.
We do force out the storms. Corruptors eating the storms a little bit, so taking a little bit of unnecessary damage, I would say, but in the end, there's still so much Zerg on the ground, in the sky, and SKillous has barely started saturating that 4th base. He has the bare minimum economy to keep this army composition going, but like we said, it's a bare minimum. He cannot afford to take too many losses.
Yeah, and I mentioned before that a carrier had gone down. Actually, 3 carriers had gone down, and once again, we're forcing out these storms. They're trying to connect with the Corruptors, which means the Lurkers are free to advance on forward. And SKillous is up against the wall. He's up against his base, does activate the cloak, does force Solar back for a moment. But Solar is still maxed out, still going for the kill. He catches the High Templar.
Yeah, we'll be able to catch them. No storms available just yet here for SKillous. This mothership is the absolute MVP right now. It's doing so much to keep this Protoss army alive, but Sol is just going to wait it out. He's just going to build more and more units, and here comes the pounce on top of what remains of the Protoss army.
Yeah, we dive on the carriers. One,
taking a lot of damage.
2 carriers go down. There's 2 left. The Lurkers are advancing on forward as well, and there's just not enough anti-air there's not enough in the air to deal with these Lurkers as they're breaking through that defensive line. The Immortals, they're putting in a lot of work, and it looks like we can maybe barely hold on.
Yeah, we got a little bit of surround here with a flanking Immortal. The Corruptors did take a lot of damage earlier. Were able to trade very well against the carriers, but not quite able to take out that mothership. When it's all said and done, SKillous has lost more. He has bled out a lot more, and that's hurts him more than it hurts Solar, but he buys himself a bit more time.
Yeah, that was 7 carriers going down, and now there's no Skytoss. Now there's just nothing left in the air. There's just the mothership. We barely have a ground army either. SKillous needs more time. He's been desperately trying to expand. He's been desperately trying to take a 5th base, but the 5th has been shut down time and time again. Solar freely expanding with a booming economy is already remaxed.
Is remaxed. Good storm on top of his main army, but it's not going to be anywhere near enough at this point.
Yeah, Solar is snowballing out of control, takes down the mothership. Lurkers have set up, some decent storms here out of SKillous, but the spine shots are just too great, and we're just bleeding out that ground army. It's just evaporating here before the might of the Lurkers.
Yeah, the ground army is going to go down. There's only a single carrier in the air that Sol's kind of avoiding it right now. You know, he's attacking the flyers because that's going to cost SKillous more resources to remake, resources that he can't later utilize to warp in, and GG is called in the end. Solar will take that series 2-1.
And GG, well played. Congratulations to the Solars. It does take it 2-1, advancing on to the next round. My condolences to SKillous. He's an amazing player. He's a fan favorite. But SKillous will not be making it out of the open stage.
Indeed, he will not, unfortunately. Another heart-stopping match that we just witnessed on our hands, which, again, just absolutely highlights how cutthroat and how brutal the open bracket can get. GG, that was a very hard-fought match. And I hope Solar's hands aren't too cold. I hope that match did warm Solar up a little bit, as he's not even going to be going into a qualifying match yet. We'll be going into another ZVP against Showdown.
Oh, okay, and it looks like we have some updates coming in. As you mentioned, we're going to be following Solar into Showdown in the next round. Meanwhile, we have updates in the upper bracket. In bracket A, it looks like Epic took down Riser 2-1, Ryung 2-0'd Epic, Ryung 2-0'd Future, and Ryung is now, I guess, mid-series versus Creator. Yeah, it looks like they just weren't updated, and I was keeping an eye on Future. I didn't see him go into a game, but I guess he played against Ryung in our absence.
Yeah, guess he played well. Solar and SKillous played is probably logical conclusion to that. So yeah, that's how bracket A is going to be shaping up. Only one match remaining in bracket A, and that is that TVP Gumiho going to be qualifying for the knockout stage. Going to be moving on forward, advancing after taking out Creator 2-0. And now it's a TVP between Creator and Ryung. Very close match, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
and I don't know if that's actually even started or even completed. I don't see Creator in game, but you know, there's potential for Creator versus Ryung in a qualifying match. Or we could follow Solar into Shutdown. I am just gonna quickly double check here, and it looks like the mainstream is going to be casting. Oh, okay. So it looks
Oh,
like the mainstream is actually casting Creator versus Ryung.
there we go. Okay. Yeah, it does make sense at this point. It does make sense at this point. The mainstream is going to be casting qualifying matches, and that's the only qualifying match available right now. So it's what they're going to be going for. It most likely means that the lower bracket qualifier over here in bracket B will be available for us to cast, and yeah, I believe that's going to be the final, or this is going to be the final two matches of the first half of the open bracket.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we're going to be following Solar here. We're going to be going on a short break. When we return, Solar versus Shutdown is going to be right here.
Here we go. Stay tuned for that.